Hi, I'm going to show you how to use a Raspberry Pi 400, a Pi 3 or whatever you've got, and an SD card to create a Raspberry Pi kiosk that will display Google Slides rotating. That means you can have them in libraries, museums, places like that, and that'll do a rotating display. Of course, you'll need to set up some Google Slides first to use with it, but let me show you what it looks like. Here's a Raspberry Pi 400. They're quite a nice little bit of kit, mouse and keyboard built in. And here's our Open Library kiosk rolling around, just a standard monitor and HDMI input. As you can see, it works really well, fills the screen, and you don't need to touch it, you just turn on your Pi and it does it. So the steps to do this is download BerryBoot, create a BerryBoot SD card, set up BerryBoot, download Linux onto it, set up Linux, and then configure it to be a kiosk. So BerryBoot is the bootloader that allows you to select different configurations. So if you want different types of kiosk, you could use that to set that up. So to download BerryBoot, just go to Google, search for BerryBoot, or browse to the URL on this page. What you want to do if you've got Pi 4 is download the Pi 4 version, because there is a difference. However, you can also use that on the Pi 3. I've tried it on both, works really well. And we'll show you how to do that now. So here we go. We've opened a browser, we've selected Get BerryBoot in there, and it's usually the first one comes up in the list. If you then click on that, you'll go to a page that looks like this, and right on the front page is the Pi 4 build of BerryBoot that you can download. It's 45 meg, it works on the Pi 4 and the Pi 400. You'll need to download that to your desktop. This page will come up, you just have to wait for the download to start. Once it's started downloading, you'll see a little bar at the bottom, and then what you can do is then put it on your desktop and unzip it. So insert your SD card into your PC or your Mac, format at FAT32. Now on your Mac, on Windows it's easy to do, but on the Mac you may need to use those commands in the terminal on the right there. Unzip the BerryBoot files, and then you simply copy them across to the formatted SD card. Pop it in your Pi and reboot it. So here we go, unzipping the files from the BerryBoot that I've downloaded. If I then open that up, this is on my Mac, as you can see there are all the files. There's the files, there's the SD card. As you can see, it's formatted as FAT. So we'll open that up, and it's as simple as dragging these files across. Now that takes a little bit of time, so you just have to wait, not too long, but it does take time. And this will allow us now to put that card in the Pi and then turn it on, and that'll boot to a menu, and that'll help us install an operating system. Insert your SD card into your Pi, turn on the Pi, then you should see BerryBoot load. Select your language, and this is probably all the way down the list of GB is, and your keyboard settings, etc. Then connect to your Wi-Fi. And when asked, select the desktop version of Debian, not the console version, and then wait for it to load. So here we go, we've rebooted, and then set your settings for that. You have to connect to the network, so I'm waiting for mine. Mine's called Galaxy's Edge. I'll type in my password, which I'm not going to tell you. And then once connected, press OK. It will find the network. And once it gets to this stage, just press continue, and what it will do is create all the boot files and expand the file system on the SD card for you. Write the boot files, and basically then the card's all prepped for another restart, and then we can install the Linux operating system. This is real time, so you can see it doesn't take that long. Installation complete, press OK to reboot. Once rebooted, you should see this screen. Now, on my list, the desktop version of Debian is the top one. The second one down is console only version. You only want the top one, the desktop version. And then when you reboot, it should go past this BerryBoot menu and then show you a desktop, which should look similar to this. So to set up Linux, from the desktop, select the Raspberry top left, select Preferences, and then select Raspberry Pi Configuration. First thing to do is change the password, make sure it's safe and secure, and then enable SSH connectivity under interfaces to make sure you connect to it remotely. And finally, open a terminal, do sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade to make sure it's up to date. So once you're at desktop, open the browser, make sure you can see the internet and everything's working on the Wi-Fi. It's really important that you do this to check that you can connect, because otherwise some of your other tests may not be successful. Here I am, open the browser, as you can see it's working for me. So select Raspberry Pi, select Preferences and select Raspberry Pi Configuration. Once in there you can change your password, really important to do that. You can change boot to CLI if you choose to, and interfaces and enable SSH so you can remotely connect. So let's put it into kiosk mode. So we need to open a terminal. So if you do that, sudo nano /.xinitrc, that creates a file which, if you put the following contents in on the right, it will open the Chromium browser when the desktop starts and then go to the URL you want it to. But to enable that to happen, we need to make the desktop auto start. So if you edit the bash profile file, sudo nano /.bash profile, and put the code in on the right, it will automatically start the desktop, take away the cursor so no one can mess around with it, and then initiate the other file which starts Chromium browser. So let's see how to do that. The Raspberry Pi, as you can see, I'm typing sudo nano, if I type it correctly, /.xinitrc. So that will create a file, and I've now cut and pasted in the commands that we need. So basically it makes sure that the Pi doesn't go into power save mode, and it opens the browser and then opens the web page. And this is the bash profile page, and that's all it is. So it's got comments, ends bash profile, start it with no cursor. But you need to make sure it boots to CLI rather than desktop, and then we kick off the desktop. So select Raspberry Pi configuration, then change boot to CLI. Then simply reboot your Raspberry Pi. If you get stuck in it, you can press Alt F4 to exit. So this is how this one's working, and as you can see, it rolls around those Google slides that we wanted to have in kiosk mode. You could create your own slides and point it to that. Now, some other things you can do is in the BerryBoot menu, if you press a key before it boots the operating system, you can click on there and rename it. So I've renamed mine my kiosk here, and press OK. Other things you can do are you can move your mouse up here and hold the left mouse button in, and that allows you to install other operating systems. You can download them from the internet or copy them from a USB stick. That's quite a hidden feature that if you just press add OS it doesn't do, so you have to hold it in. Or if you just click on it, as long as you connect to the internet, you can add other operating systems just from the list there. Also, if you click on it and click set default, the style there, that'll make it auto boot to that one. So if you've got multiple operating systems, it will then select the one that you want to start. If you edit config or more options, you have other settings. So here, if I click my kiosk and clone, I can take a copy of that. So I've got that one already for a kiosk. And if I do image plus data, then I'll do a complete copy of that image so I can have a backup one. So this one I'm calling Kiosk Backup. So then if I mess around with the first one and get it wrong, I can always then rename this one and reuse it. It takes a little while to clone an image. Another way to clone an image is to select the image, press clone, and just do original image. Now this will clone it so it's as when you first put it on there without all the configuration. So I'm calling this one Debian Desktop. So when I reboot that one, I'll go straight to the desktop. And that's it. So that's how to create a Raspberry Pi kiosk. Create your own slides or point it to any web page. Have fun.